Hi, my name's Donald Martin with Southern Paranormal Investigations. We're here on location in Rankin County at the Mississippi House. We were here last night. Some of the guys actually stayed the night here. I did not. I had to get back to the house. But some guys had some interesting stuff going on last night. A lot of REM pod hits. I'm sure some EVPs were captured last night on some audio and digital recorders. We also had a couple guys were getting ready to bunk down for the night, and they were sharing a room, and they were sitting there talking back and forth. Said the REM pod was going off, on and off through the night. But at one point in time, they were just sitting there chit-chatting, talking, and there's a fan that is right next to the...
Move up a little bit to the traffic.
Yeah, there's a fan that's right next to the bed. Mm-hmm. While they were sitting there talking, they said the REM pod went off, and immediately the fan turned on high by itself. So it's pretty intense thing there to happen while you're just sitting there, getting ready to go to sleep.
So this happened basically right after you got set up and got settled in for night.
I would say it happened because I made a phone call, let them know I got back home all right, and it happened probably, I'm gonna say around 12:30 to 1 o'clock in the morning.
All right, cool. VIP alert. We have Israel Gomez, who's Anderson Silva's trainer.
Hey.
Awesome. Checking us out. Thanks, Israel, for joining us. So, talk about. So, this is you guys. What, third time here?
This is our third time here. First time we were here has been a couple years ago. We first met Alice, and I think by the time we met up with you,
a couple years ago.
So we had quite a lot of interesting things happen, since then. We were back here last year. Rachel Lang was here with us also. We had some things happen that night, including the Connects. We actually have the Connects set up in the same room again, doing the same area as we did last year. Last year we wound up catching some anomalies on the Connects there.
Now, for those who don't know what a Connects is, just go over that real quick.
It's basically most of your paranormal equipment that we all use now is actually made for something else, and we just kind of get things and kind of adapt them to kind of our theories and on spirit manipulation on certain devices and use them. The Xbox Connects is basically what it is. It works on the Xbox, and people have kind of used its mapping technology to use it in the paranormal field to see if it can't map things that we can't see with the naked eye. Maybe that software and the technology there, shooting that laser grid and all, sometimes we'll pick up things that we can't see there off the normal eye. You have to kind of play with it a little bit, because there is, times when it's going to show you false readings and all. Sometimes it'll pick up furniture and things and try to map it out as being a person.
Gotcha.
We've had that, issue before at Decent House.
So, you guys travel all over the country, Southern Paranormal. You guys are based out of the Kosciuszko area. Where do you rank Mississippi House as compared to some of the other places you've been investigating?
Mississippi House is probably one of the most active places that we've ever been. Every time we come here, something's going on all the time. I know you've been here many times. John Bullard's been here many times. You've always gotten activity. Of course, now that you got the cameras set up and everything, you can monitor everything from your house. The baseball coming down the stairs, all by itself, and nobody's home. That's a pretty interesting thing. The first time we were here, we had our cameras set up and everything. Our shadow cams, what we call our cameras that we have basically going set up here in shadow, that we run our cable and everything out to, and set up in different locations of the house or whatever venue we're at. First time we were here, we had it all set up and everything was going great. Investigation was good, and we get back home and realize that we didn't record anything. The system basically went down while we were here. Of course, we got all that fixed and everything's working fine. And we set up last night and everything was, supposedly recording.
Yeah.
So
this house is notorious for equipment failure. So I'm not saying that's what happened with y'all, but it wouldn't surprise me. We've had stuff just stop working here plenty of times before. So, all right. So talk about tonight. What's the game plan?
Tonight we're going to kind of touch base on a few things that we've already done here before and gotten some positive things and some evidence review. Of course, we're going to do the typical EVP sessions and stuff like that. We got quite a big group here tonight with us, so we're going to kind of break up in different groups tonight and kind of tackle this thing at different groups. Try some different things that we probably haven't done in a while. I mean, with everything that we've got inside here, equipment-wise, we have a lot of equipment, and we a lot of times don't use half the stuff that we have. So we're going to try to touch base on and get into some more experiments and things like that. We got the portal that we plan on using tonight. I would love to use that up in the top bedroom where the fan and all came on, and see if we can't get some communication maybe through it, along with the Kinects that's working up there. So that would be pretty awesome.
Good stuff.
I'll take y'all and show you kind of
let's show the
what's
brain
going
center.
on inside.
The brain center. Hopefully my signal will last and we won't get cut off. We have a backup just in case, though, right? We got okay. So we're gonna walk inside. They call this shadow, and this is their brain, the command center here. This is the second one they built. So you guys will check out what they got going on here. I'll let you explain it to them, Donald.
Let the other guy get in here with our actual camera guy.
Yeah, we'll go in a second. We'll get the rest of the team up in here. Behind the scenes, there you go.
You want to come in here and... Anyway, we're inside Shadow now. This is our command center. This is actually the second trailer that we've had built. First one was kind of a prototype and figured out some things that worked and some things that didn't. So we just kind of revamped and got this thing set up. What you're seeing here is our monitor system. We can actually set up 16 cameras at a time and actually record 16 on our DVR system, which we've got a DVR system set up over here, our QC. We also have a setup for live audio feed. If we choose to run audio cable into our digital recorders, we can monitor our audio and video from the command center without anybody being in the house. That eliminates all total interference, inside the home. What you see right now, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we don't really count that one because that's basically just shooting us. We've got 6 cameras here that were actually inside the house. This is right here is the living room area. You can see Kyle in there on the chair sitting there talking to some other people that's in there. Some objects right here that tend to move on its own periodically, so we got kind of a camera sitting there. This is the notorious stairwell up to the second floor bedroom. If you can look right there, we got a REM pod sitting there, and there's a baseball that on its own will start falling down the stairs. They've actually caught that several times on video. This is our front bedroom to the left. It's kind of a small bedroom. There's a patchwork bear at one point in time that came up missing. It was inside that room there, and about a month or so later it mysteriously showed back up at the house in a different location, so don't really know what was going on with that.
We've also caught that bear falling off the bed too.
That's correct, though. That bear was in this bedroom.
Bottom one, yeah, bottom right.
Yeah, right there. That's kind of what we call a portal bedroom. Miss Alice has seen, woken up from sleep there before and seen these beams of light just coming from the ceiling to the floor, and lights shooting in through the windows and things like that. And yeah, like Brad said, the bear had been sitting on the bed there, and the video camera setting up, it just fell over on the ground.
And look, the video was running for like 2 days. it was up for like 48 hours, and the bear just fell off
Just decided to fall.
in the middle. And then
Kinda
we had
reminds me
that
of
weird light anomaly flew over top of it at the same time.
That kind of reminds me of when we were at a location. They had Buzz Lightyear that been sitting there all in the hallway all day long. We were walking back and forth. You know, we started our actual investigation that night, and within 2 minutes of us starting EVP sessions, the thing starts going off crazy. You know, it had fell over, and of course, you know, it's a possibility it could have fell over on its own. You know, but I mean, we had been walking by it all day long. You know, it was fine standing up. When we got back to the house and started reviewing the video and all from that footage, and kind of zoomed in real close, and right before it falls, you can see its feet move just a little bit.
Oh wow,
So
that's great.
he can't move on his own. But this is the top bedroom there, and I'll touch base back on this in just a second. This top bedroom here, we have the connects basically shooting what you're seeing now last time, and we're going to get that same shot here in a little while. But we've had mapping right around that door area before. That same door, Brad and them have actually witnessed that door opening and closing by itself. We've got the connects system set up with a camera on it. Really can't see it too well right here. Once you start getting some mapping on there, it'll show up really good on the screen there. But right now we actually have the connects shooting over towards this side of the room. I've got it set up to where that fan is going to be about right there. So we got it kind of shooting that way, kind of catching anything, and maybe we can get that fan coming back on, maybe see what actually turned it on.
Who built this awesome trailer?
I'm gonna step out because it's like 100
The actual
degrees in here.
building of the trailer was done by somebody in Jackson, I think. No,
All right, Fitzgerald Georgia.
Fitzgerald, Georgia. We did the wrap in Jackson,
All right, so
and then Steve Allen, one of our members, he's our guru that builds everything for us, so that he can come up with some crazy stuff. We get plans and ideas. Hey, we want this, and he'll try to figure out some way to make it happen. Everything that is in here is pretty much put together. Did a really, really good knockout job. And if we can keep from hitting tree limbs and breaking springs and everything else, you know, you might, you might not have to repair so much and start, you know, doing other things. Some of the equipment we got that we're going to use tonight, this is just a kind of a touch base and just a little sample of a lot of stuff that we've got. First off, we got the Oculus 5 right here. It's a really good device to use. It's got all kinds of different little apps and everything on here that we use for voice manipulation. We've actually used this, and it's got a pre-programmed set of voices in it in a dictionary. It's like 2,000 words. Supposedly the theory is that spirits can manipulate this device and try to get those words in a positive response, you know, a relevant response. We also had this at a location, and Keith Ramsey was with us, from Deep South Paranormal. He was with us that night, and we were doing an EVP session down in the basement of the location, and a voice came over right when my wife, Miss Rebecca Martin, she's a team member too, but she's not here tonight. She had picked it up, and we were getting ready to leave the location, and a voice came over that said soon. It was like really drawn out, raspy voice. It was totally different from every other voice that is pre-programmed into the thing, and it's kind of a freaky thing to her. She refused to hold the thing the rest of the night. So, of course, we got the SB7. We use that for spirit box, more or less a spirit box, along with the speaker. Got the upgrade to SB11, which we'll probably wind up using some tonight. Good old millimeter. We can detect. It's basically used for electrical impulses, checking EMF. This one also has a vibration detection on it. Looks like the batteries are dead. And now you can kind of see everything is zeroed out, and shows the temperature there, 75. We can also monitor temperature and everything. It fluctuates. We can kind of get a readout on that. And if we can get this thing to
I do it with light.
Yeah, they want to do anything. Maybe it's not working right. Anyway, we got a couple more of these we'll wind up using. We took some base readings off of one last night, and this may not be the one we used. We've got a lot of stuff inside right now. REM pod, we've got these set up throughout the house. One right there. There's one right there. There's one right there. Not sure where that one's at in that room. And we don't have one in that room. But like I said, these things were going off all last night, especially up here in the top bedroom. It was going off quite a bit last night. I think Mark Diaz, he's part of the team. He was actually doing some stuff last night when everybody else was sleeping, and he had some stuff going off last night during his live feeds and all. But that's that, and of course we got the flare, which is basically a thermal camera. Hey, it comes on. Basically, it's showing cold and heat sensing. There's my hand there. You can see the cold spots and all, which probably aren't a whole lot of them other than the actual sides here. The cool thing about that, kind of see where your body heat is transferred to the cold wall there. Well, we use this a good bit tonight. And the big one, the portal. This was designed by Steve Huff. He has a guy that's actually building those now for him and getting them done to his specifications and all that. This doesn't have all the crystals and everything like his big unit does, but more or less it's just another way of spirit box communication. It uses reverb and amplifiers and everything, and it has actually, depending on what you use, you can use it with SP7, SP11, you can use it with phone apps, you can do, use it with a bunch of different things, and there's a lot of controversy with SP7s and your apps and things like that, voice manipulation. How do you know that spirits are actually the ones communicating through it? The Portal app is actually one that uses reverse speech. So all your speech is actually in reverse when you're hearing it come through the portal. The idea is that if you can get it to have forward speech, where everything is forward, then that's an indication it could be paranormal as opposed to just radio waves coming over your SP7. That's one thing about the SP7, in my opinion. It's kind of flawed when you're scanning through channels and everything. You got to be in a really remote location not to get something picked up by radio transmission. Because radio signals are all over the place, everywhere. So my thing is, if I hear something come over my SP7 or my SP11, and I kind of mark and see where something may have come across. I got some kind of voice come across. I kind of look at it both in my mind as a time frame in my mind to start counting to the next time I hear it. Is it repeating itself every 30 seconds? Is it repeating itself every minute? Is it in minute intervals? Then to me that's not paranormal. That's something that is picking up a radio transmission from somewhere. You also kind of look at the frequency when I first hear that, because you can actually look at the thing and see what frequency it actually picked up at that. Next time it comes around, I'll look at it and see if it's that same frequency. Well, if it's that same frequency, then probably it's going to be a radio transmission. If you get something to come across several channels, several frequencies all in one, make a sentence, that's like, that's not radio frequency. That's something else. Whether it be paranormal or something else. We got things with EVPs and everything, with audio and digital recorders, analog recorders. When you have those EVPs, when you're doing an EVP session, you're asking questions, or you're just sitting there communicating with your other people, and you have something else come through, and it wasn't, anybody in the room. It was a different voice and everything else. To me, that's the really, really good stuff. That's the really good stuff. Doyle's over there messing with me. Back. that's the really good stuff. You get those type things, you know. Something is trying to communicate, you know, with us, whether it be spirit, you know, who knows. You know, something is trying to communicate with us through those digital recorders, through EVP. So, anyway, we're going to finish up this interview, and we're going to get in the Mississippi House and start doing what we do. See y'all. I'm Donald with Southern Paranormal again, and this is the homeowner, Miss Alice,
Hey.
Miss Alice Jackson. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the strange going-ons in the house there?
From the beginning or from recently?
Kind of touch maybe at the very
Okay.
beginning, and we'll talk about some current stuff.
You know, from the very beginning, when we built the house, I felt like the land was being disturbed because it was just, there was a ton of stuff going on. You know, doors slamming, doorbells ringing, animals that would look like something was there and they wouldn't go in, things like that. We had actually had something levitate one time, a candle that just levitated
Really?
and went across the room, and so there was a lot of activity in the beginning, and then it leveled off to some degree. It was still a little bit, but you know, leveled off to some degree. And then about it was 2011. I remember that because that's when I first had investigated. But that's when weird lights started coming on at night, and we had like tunnels of light. We had blue balls that was throwing off rays of light. I saw something at the foot of the bed throwing off foggy rays of light and stuff like that. And so that really unnerved me because I can deal with the ghost stuff. but that unnerved me. And so we had investigated, and from the very first time they investigated it, they saw a ball of light, you know, that came down beside me and then up, and they saw that, and then they got all kinds of EVPs, and from the first investigation it was from movie lines like Let's Ride and Here's Johnny, and several things from movies at that time, and every time anybody has come since then, I mean, they've always gotten EVPs. A lot of times they'll get light balls, you know, that sometimes you can see them with your sometimes you can see them with your eyes, and sometimes you can see them on camera. We've had a lot of people, you know, see them with their eyes. I don't know what else is that.
You know, you were talking about the tunnel, the lights.
Yeah.
And all that was in that bottom right bedroom.
Right bedroom, bottom right bedroom. Yeah, and of course, you know, we've heard in that same bedroom. I heard footsteps outside the door, and I heard, you know, people talking, and it was like, you know, woke me up from a deep sleep, and there was a light shining on some duffel bags there because you know, had visitors, and they were upstairs, but the light was shining on their duffel bags, and so the next morning, you know, nobody had been up, nobody had a flashlight. So, and the strange thing about that was the door. I opened my eyes and saw the light, and then the door closed, and I heard the door, you know, click closed, and then about 5 seconds later, the light went out in the room, and so that was, you know, unnerving because I thought, well, if the door closed and then the light went out, they're still in here, whoever was in here. So I knew, I mean, it made sense that it wasn't a real person, and then everybody said they didn't come down, you know, so you know, I believe that. But those two things, that and the tunnel, that's what probably unnerved me the most. And so that's when we had it investigated, and about one of the news stations, and so from that time on, other paranormal groups have come, and they've all found something. I mean, they've all found something that was paranormal.
Yeah, I mean, it's our third time here, and every time we've been here, we've
seen shadow figures. I think y'all saw a shadow figure.
First time we were here, I was going to kind of touch base on that on the previous interview. We were inside talking about it on that same bedroom where you had said you saw the portals and stuff like that, the light and everything. And we had actually the camera set up, and we had some members inside monitoring the video footage, and while it was going on live, and they had actually saw a shadow figure at the end of that bed there, right there by that mirror and everything.
And other people have seen, and then y'all came with that Connect tool.
Yes, and we got it running upstairs right now.
Yeah, and there was the first time that I saw it, there was a shadow figure on that upstairs when nobody was up there that y'all were watching from the shadow here. And so when you went up there, it moved out of camera range. And so later, you know, I was asked to just lie down on that bed, and y'all came in here and watched it, and y'all said that a shadow figure came up by the side of the bed, and Rachel Lang was here, and she had turned music on, and so it would change music music like about every 30 seconds or something, and so every time it would change, the shadow figure would dance to the music, slow or fast, and so I thought that was pretty interesting.
Maybe something we need to recreate tonight and see if we can't get that same thing to go on again. It's one thing to have something, you see something or something like that, but if you can get it on another investigation, try to get that same
respond
thing.
to music.
Same thing.
And we've had different investigators here. John Bullard comes sometimes, and he had the EVP machines one time, and he was doing different kinds of music, and he would get different responses, based on whatever music he was playing. So but I think the spirits here are interactive. To music, to questions that you ask, because we do get direct answers to questions sometimes. We've had the names called of just about everybody that's investigated. If you say your name, at some point you'll hear it back, if you ask.
Do you find that, like, if you're playing music and during part of EVP sessions, you find that they like one genre more than they do another?
Well, I don't know, because we haven't done it that often. I know that he would get different voices in, like on that particular piece of equipment. I don't know. We haven't done the music too much. I remember the Connect, and I remember that EVP thing, but other than that, I don't remember us doing the music.
Maybe we can take and get one of our phones or something, play some music, and then let it play for a little bit, and then turn it off. See if we get any interaction, and maybe change the genre up. See if there's.
Well, it would be worth a try, I think. Especially the Connect. I thought that was pretty impressive.
Right now we've got it set up on the fan that came on last night by itself.
That's interesting. The fan that came on, that's the first time I remember doing that. The lights will go off. The chandelier light, it's got like 8 bulbs in it, and they'll all go off at once, and it's been checked out as far as switches and electrical outlets and all that, and it never does it except when paranormal investigators are here and ask it to turn off, So sometimes we would cook, and the stove knob would turn down. Even my neighbor that's in there right now, she remembers that. And I remember it. My daughter remembers it. We've determined that on this land, the house that was here originally was probably burned down. And so one thought might be that they're trying to protect the house from burning down. They keep turning the stove off. You can turn bread on, and one time my daughter forgot and left the stove on, and we went to the Kroger, and she called my neighbor, and she said, I left the stove on, and so she came over to look, and she said, well, she said, you're not as confused as you thought you were. It's already been turned off. Well, we didn't turn it off, and when we got home, she had banana bread in there, and it was half cooked, so it obviously had been on, but it was turned off. It turned off, while we were gone. So we've seen the stove change temperature lots of times. And we've seen things with deadbolts. Like when we first built this house, I remember coming in one night, and I locked the deadbolt downstairs, and I got upstairs, and when I got up there, I heard the door slam real loud, and I came back down, looked, and the door was wide open, and the deadbolt was out, and so I know they can manipulate deadbolts. And then one time I came home, and I was deadbolted out. I really was deadbolted out. Yeah, and because I don't even usually have the deadbolt key with me, and I had to search for it. And I thought, well, if I'm deadbolted out, somebody had to lock that from the inside unless they used a key on the outside. And I didn't even really know where the key was, but I finally found it. And so when I got in, I was nervous, but there was nobody in there. I was deadbolted out, but there was nobody in the house when I went in there. Then just recently, John Bullard was with Smoke and Mirrors, and he's been coming here a really long time, so he had the idea to put cameras up in the house, and so they've been up a few months, and so since then we have captured some interesting things, and with nobody in the house. One thing was we had this stuffed bear that disappeared one time for like 2 weeks, and we looked and looked and looked, and everybody knew it had disappeared because somebody had spent the night, and she said, I moved it this morning, it's not there when I got up, last night, it's not there. Anyway, it disappeared for about 2 weeks. And then my daughter came, and it was up. She was here one day, and it wasn't here. And then the second day she was here, she came out of the bedroom, and it was like sitting on a chair right outside the bedroom. And she said it wasn't there when I got there because I would have remembered it. And so it came back. Well, anyway, so he thought that was probably a trigger object. So he put that on the bed, and in the video, you could see an orb, a ball of light go right by the bear, and then it tumbled off. It's just immediately.
Yeah, I remember seeing
so that was one thing interesting. And then he would put baseballs on the stairs, and those would roll down, and we've had that recorded probably 8 or 10 times since then.
Yeah.
It happened to me like 2 weeks ago. I was in the kitchen, and I heard a loud thunk clutter, and I walked by there, and the ball had rolled down the stairs, and we rolled it back and saw it roll down the stairs. So it just happened, and we heard, and And then, of course, he got the chandelier going off, with the camera.
Yeah, we had Brad Cooney had showed me the video of you in the house when the ball came from there. 'Cause I saw you come out the kitchen, you just kind of looking around.
Because I heard the sound.
You went outside the door and looked out and then went back in.
Yeah, I heard the sound, and then when I got to the bottom of the stairs, I saw that ball had fallen, and I knew we had put it up there. And so he played the film back, and that's what happened. It rolled down the stairs by itself. And it's on carpet. And it's a heavy baseball, so it's not like something that could be blown by an air current.
Yeah, we had actually last night I was asking Brad, what step is the best one to put it on. He was like, put it on this certain step, and we got there and we banged the step and everything, and you could not get it to move at all.
You can't get it to move. If you get it to move, it's too close to the edge and it'll move by itself. It's hard. You have to put it back at least a couple of inches.
You got a little bit of a raised area right where the carpet is basically coming down and kind of humping over that hump up the steps.
So it takes some effort to
it's not like it's a down slope.
No, and it's not a smooth surface to roll. It would really take some effort. So, and that's happened several times. Several times that we have on camera. And it's almost like when they learn they can do something, they do it. We didn't even know to put anything up there, but when we did, and they did it once, now they do it frequently. The same thing with those chandelier lights. Years we didn't ask or anything, but when John first was there one day, he came with a cameraman, and he was just asking for some sort of sign of activity, and he said he just felt like he'd gotten an electrical jolt. And so he had a cameraman, and he said all he remembered was that he got an electrical jolt. And he said, it just discombobulated him, and he didn't realize the chandelier had turned off until later because he was so affected by the jolt. And so, but the chandelier light did go off when that happened, and so he felt like maybe they were using, some kind of transfer of energy, from, I don't know, but he felt like he'd gotten a shock. And so since then, he's asked the chandelier to go off a number of times, and it's documented at least 8 or 10 times. And the last time was like 2 weeks ago,
Yeah. We really appreciate y'all open up your doors to us. And
I'm really thrilled and delighted. I really am, because I'm just curious about everything in the field, and I think it's great that people are working on it and do it. And I think that eventually there's going to be some big breakthrough, and I just think it's going to take people like you plugging away,
like I said again, we appreciate you. Let us come down and
anytime
and sharing your story and everything with us, sharing your home with us.
Anytime, whether I'm here or not.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay.